everyone, good morning. You're watching Market Fatafat right here on ET Now. I'm Mubina Kapasi. This is the show where we flag off all the big movers and shakers in trade today. But first, a quick glance at the markets, and we are attempting to bounce back. However, that bounce as we speak has been completely sold off, and we in fact have flattened out as we speak, completely given up those gains, and we are back below the 11,200 mark. The Sensex is still just about showing a similar trend, of course, but still just a little bit of green left on the screen for the Sensex as well. So this is something that you must watch out for. Of course, do remember the Nifty 200 DMA, a very, very important level, and that is one level we'll be watching out for very closely. It's come in at 11,145. We still have about 40 points to go for that one. But lots of individual movers and shakers, so let's start flagging those off. We have with us joining in on the technicals, Himen Kapare of KR Choksi Securities, Kunal Bothra and Pranay Jain as well join in. Good morning to all of you, and let's kickstart the show by talking about one stock that's been resilient through all of the market carnage, or at least most of it. That's between yesterday and today. ICICI Bank was something that had kept the Nifty bank afloat yesterday in trade as well, and today too it's contributing to some of those 20-odd points that the Nifty bank is clocking in. The stock continues to gain in trade post the first quarter numbers, firmly above 415 rupees, 430 rupees, pardon me. So that's a positive. Certainly the first quarter number seems to have given some reason for investors to cheer on ICICI Bank. That's stock number one. But of course, the big news maker, and I think it will be a newsmaker for some time now, is Coffee Day Enterprises, Pranay.
And after the disappearance of the founder, Vijay Siddhartha, you've seen that the stock is now locked on the lower circuit, down 20%. In fact, the market cap loss itself has been more than the last debt figures that we have of about 8,000 crores. So clearly that is a kind of reaction you're seeing on the screens right now. And we have already got update in the form of a letter where he's clearly mentioning that it's he who is supposed to be held responsible for all the financial transactions, though there was stress from one PE player, and also there was quite some harassment going on from the earlier DG who had attached the shares to stop this Mindtree deal. Clearly he was under a lot of duress, and which is why you've seen a very tragic letter coming from his side, and the stock is right now down by about 20%.
That letter will certainly go down in the history of, India Inc. And of course, all forces, all hands are on deck to search, to look for Mr. Vijay Siddhartha. Moving on, Kunal, Godrej Properties, something you're flagging off. What are you observing here?
So purely on the short-term charts, I think there are some breakouts for Godrej Properties which are occurring in terms of indicators. Bollinger Bands, which is one of the key indicators of price range or price volatility, had narrowed significantly for Godrej Properties on the early charts. The range was as narrow as less than 1.5% for the stock price, and now I think the stock is inching towards a breakout on the upside to some bit of positive price action. So 957 is the breakout point for Godrej Properties, would suggest a buy about those levels for targets of closer to 1,000 levels.
Okay, that's Godrej Properties, which is attempting to move above 950. Himen, hi, morning. Sun Pharma, this is a stock that we have seen quite resilient in the last couple of sessions. However, today it has somehow given up all of those gains, and it's now in fact at the day's low, I suppose, in line with the way the market has been moving. What do you make of this move?
A very good morning to you. I think, Mubina, one needs to sell a bit, in the sense, I wouldn't say short, but one can book partial profit. The stock is a bit overbought. We spent the last 7 trading sessions not being able to overcome 440. Some of the daily mechanical indicators are reflecting negative divergence, indicating the possibility of shorter term weakness. So I would say book partial profit.
All right, that is of course Sun Pharma. It's completely given up that 2% of gains that it was trading at earlier, and now is in fact down by 0.2%. Let's take a look at BEL meantime. The company has delivered its first quarter numbers. It's a nice 6% uptick witnessed in the counter. The turnover was at 2,042 crores and that indicated a growth of approximately, it was a degrowth of roughly around 2%. However, on the profit front, they did well. Profit was around 204 crores versus 179 crore rupees. They did say that the order book as on 1st July was at 51,700 crore rupees, and during the first quarter, they received orders worth 1,985 crore rupees, majorly in the segments of communication equipment, AMC for radars, and export order for equipment as well. BEL is 6% higher. And Kunal, SRF is back on your radar. What is it that you're observing?
So yeah, I think we highlighted the stock earlier that how the stock has been on a steady footing over the last couple of days and couple of weeks. But now I believe after today's price action, which the stock which has led the stock back to those 2,700 levels, it's now getting into a bit of a wobbly zone now in terms of support levels and resistances. The 2775 level which the stock hit yesterday is now a very strong resistance for the stock. But I think more important is the support level, which I think is at 2650 on the spot prices for SRF, and I believe that that's a very, very important support level for the stock, because I sense if the stock breaks those kind of levels, which has been a multiple support for SRF, then I believe we could see some aggressive selling which could come into the stock price. So traders should try and watch these kind of levels very clearly. If you're a long trader, then in 2650 has to be a strict stop loss in that regards, and if you're looking to initiate fresh shots, then I believe a closing below 2650 could result into a good trade on the sell side.
Okay, that's SRF. It's more than 2% down, and that's Kunal's view. Pranay, Bharti, Airtel, meantime, is a big gainer today in trade. What's the trigger?
Well, one is that we've seen the weakness at Vodafone seems to be benefiting Airtel. That's the view of the investors and shareholders on the street. Second, you've had a brokerage upgrade coming in from Bank of America Merrill Lynch, where they've now raised their stance to buy from the earlier neutral with a target price of about 400. They believe that the balance sheet is strong after their recent fundraising through the rights issue and also the IPO that they did of their African arm, and it stands best placed to capitalize from market share weakness at Vodafone. In fact, they believe that there is a positive surprise chance of tweaking the tariffs higher, and that is something which will work well for Airtel. So that's why the stock is up in trade.
Nice uptick witnessed in Bharti Airtel today in trade. Let's look at RBL Bank meantime. In fact, it's been declining for the last couple of trading sessions. Hemen, you have a sell on bounce. What's the observation you're making?
Yeah, we've seen a 24-25% short build-up, but I think after such a big decline, I'm not sure if that short build-up is very valid. But yes, one cannot ignore the fact that we are in a short and medium-term downtrend very clearly. The sequence of lower top, lower bottoms Movina still hasn't reversed. So once again, it's very clearly not a short because it's deeply oversold, but it's definitely a sell on bounce because important intermediate levels have been reached.
All right, that's of course RBL Bank for you. It is down by 7% and again at the day's low. A quick look at the RWI small case index meantime, and let's see where it is heading. Remember, yesterday it was absolutely flat today. However, we are seeing a bit of a downtick. It's just 0.06% down, so nothing much. More or less of a flattish move is what you could call this on the index, RWI small case index. It's at 501. So that's just the index check of the RWI small case index. Okay, let's continue with the countdown then and take a look at Shalby Hospitals and the massive double-digit up move that we are seeing in the stock price. Almost 14 to 15% higher last time I checked, though I don't know if it has actually succumbed to the selling pressure witnessed in the markets overall and come off. But yeah, the trigger is, of course, the first quarter numbers. 131 crore rupees on the top line versus 112 crores, so that's a decent 16% rise. And not just that, on the bottom line, from just 3 crores in the corresponding quarter, the profit has come in at 24 crores. So that certainly is very impressive, that performance, and the stock is rightly so being rewarded by investors. In fact, volume activity as well is very high. 8.5 lakh shares traded in just these 2 hours of trade in Shalby Hospitals. Kunal, Avenue Supermarts, so D-Mart, you have a buy here. What's the reason?
Yeah, the stock is at a swing breakout on the short-term charts. 1460. 62 on spot levels is where the breakout is for D-Mart, and the way the stock has been behaving in the last 3 to 4 weeks, in a slight uptrend and generally moving in a manner which is not in sync with the market volatility, I think is a sort of a positive sign, because the stock is trying to find its own trend in the midst of this market volatility. And I think that's a sign that the stock should continue to ride up higher. Now breakouts generally tend to lead to more aggressive buying into the stock price, and I believe above those 1465 levels you could see another round of upside on DMART. So I would suggest a buy for an immediate target of 1500, stop loss at 1440.
Okay, there you have it. That is DMART for you. Stride Shasun, meantime, is definitely a big gainer today in trade. It's up a neat 12% Pranay, Q1 results are the trigger.
Results, Movina, came out much better than street expectations, and the management commentary has also been positive for the rest of the year. Not just that, their subsidiary has also entered into a joint venture with a Chinese pharma company with a 49% stake. So like the larger pharma players, this one too is making inroads in China and believes it is the next frontier for it. When you look at some of the large launches which are lined up for US market, that is giving confidence to some of the investors, and given the comfortable valuations, they have firmed up target prices on this counter. So it seems to be the top gainer from the pharma pack, which otherwise also has been outperforming today.
Well, yeah, today the Nifty Pharma is the top gainer sectorally. We'll do one thing. We'll take a very quick break right here on Market Fatafat. Do come right back. We'll continue flagging off more movers and shakers. Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat on ET now. Hemian, let's talk about Hero Moto. While auto stocks continue to mostly go lower in trade, Hero has its results as well today. And this one still relatively was a little resilient. What do you make of this 3% downtick now in Hero?
Well, Movina, frankly speaking, wouldn't like to second guess the results, but remains weak. We posted a fresh 3.5-year low. We peaked at a high of around 4100, somewhere in mid 17. And we continue to post lower top, lower bottom. So despite being oversold, it continues to sink further. So no reversals in sight yet, except being oversold. Sell on bound.
Continues to stay oversold, and hence Hemian has a sell. Shriram City, take a look at the numbers and of course the share price as well. The NII declined 1% at 918 crore rupees. The PAT, however, was higher by 10 crores, and mostly, of course, it was also aided by the lower provisions compared to both the corresponding quarter and the previous quarter. So it came in at 18 crores. Okay, compared to the previous quarter, it doubled actually from 9 crores to 18 crores. But compared to the corresponding quarter, it is. So that may be something that has supported the bottom line growth of 10%. That doubling of provisions compared to the previous quarter, I suppose, is something that may have got investors' attention. Stock is down 2.5%. Pranay, Muthoot Finance, what's the news over there?
Well, they've updated that due to the spike that we had seen in the gold prices, where they had hit new highs in the domestic market. In order to moderate the loan growth, they had to actually stop the fresh disbursals for a couple of days between July 25th to 27th, and as of 29th they have now resumed. Also, there is some hope that with this impending rate cut ahead, you could see some kind of cushion for all these NBFCs, and they are one of the better ones which have been performing in this market.
Okay, 1.7% higher, and yes, Indian gold prices had almost come within that kissing distance of 36,000. Kunal, Lupin, what a rally seen in these pharma stocks, Lupin included, and you believe this one could go higher?
Yes, Movina, and looks like, because the stock has confirmed a break of some key resistances on the way up today, 780, 785 congestion zone, which was acting as a bit of a hurdle for the stock price. It was one of the levels as well, which where the rallies used to stop, and the stock used to reverse back to some sort of support zones. So I think this should be a decent breakout for looping. And I think more importantly, it's at a time when the markets are still a bit concerned of a lot of factors on the Nifty front, but the pharma index, which is more defensive, I think overall has been outperforming, especially led by many of these other pharma stocks as well. So I believe that this should come as a positive breakout for Lupin. Over the next couple of days, I believe 825 could be a possible target once this breakout sustains.
Okay, 825. That's where Kunal believes Lupin could go with this up move. Hemant, it's interesting to know that Varun Beverages is one stock that is really going higher. In fact, despite the market conditions, it's just about nearing its 52-week high. Anything that you observe?
Yes, Movina, surprisingly, it's an oasis in a desert actually. But yeah, if you look at the daily, weekly, monthly, we remain in a short, medium, long-term uptrend. We've recently posted a fresh all-time high. I wouldn't have a fresh buy simply because the markets don't seem very conducive, but a hold. 640 is important support. We've not closed below that in the last few trading sessions. We are heading towards 675. But if it needs to go up, a close up of 675 is the must.
Okay, stuck in a medium and long-term uptrend. But it's important then to once again go back to the entire story with respect to CMD VG Siddhartha of CCD and that very, very contentious letter. And to react on that, we have none other than Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, Chairperson and MD of Biocon. Mrs. Shaw, thank you for joining in on ET Now. This is a letter that will certainly, I think, go down in the history of India Inc. To start this conversation, Ms. Shaw, if you could share your initial thoughts and comments on this letter and the entire situation.
First and foremost, I'm deeply shocked and very, very saddened to learn of this very, very, awful tragedy because I've known Siddharth for many, many years, and he's always come across as being a very soft-spoken, unassuming, and a visionary pioneer, because the way he built Cafe Coffee Day used to really impress anybody and everybody who saw the way he quietly went about building Cafe Coffee Day. And let's face it, he predates, Barista, Starbucks, and, he really pulled ahead of all these cafes, these cafe concepts. And I think he did an outstanding job of Cafe Coffee Day, but obviously he's had some financial challenges. And it's very unfortunate if you go by the letter as to what caused him to end his life. I mean, this is no way for any businessman or businesswoman to take their lives. It is very unfortunate. I think we really need to relook at how people are being harassed so much so that they have to end their lives. I think I'm really shocked by that particular event.
Ma'am, did you, have you ever met him? What sort of a person was he, in terms of fighting? What sort of ability do you think he had when you met him earlier?
Well, he's been a very good friend for many, many years because all of us started our businesses almost at the same time. And, I've known him for decades and, he's been a wonderful person. I've never thought that he would be the kind of person who would take his life. I met him maybe a few months ago and he didn't come across as someone who was depressed or would be taking his life. But, he came across as a wonderful person. I've always enjoyed talking to him. A very astute businessman. He actually built, his company in a very interesting way. And it's very sad and tragic to see that he has ended his life, if that is so.
Right. But, what sort of a statement does it give to various entrepreneurs when the founder of CCD says that I have failed as an entrepreneur?
Well, he also talks about the fact that he has been harassed, and I think that has actually led him to, obviously this kind of an end. Because, just because you failed, you don't, take your life. But when you feel there's no hope at the end of the tunnel, which in his case, he felt that he had lost everything that he had created. I think that is what has basically got him to take this very, very awful step, So I just think that it's about, any business person being given a fair chance.
Right. Just a word on the pharma sector as well, ma'am. We had this big deal that came in yesterday regarding Mylan and Pfizer. I'm sure you would have seen that. Do you think in the pharma pack, consolidation has started?
Well, first and foremost, I think this is a very, very interesting merger of Mylan with Upjohn, which, as you know, is Pfizer's generics entity. And I think this actually augurs well for the new entity because it actually provides a much greater collective global reach and collective competencies which are really, complementary. And of course, from our point of view, it has a positive impact on the Mylan Biocon partnership because as you can see from their own statements, the 2020 earnings themselves are going to see a major contribution from biosimilars, which Upjohn does not have. And of course, in their future growth, they have actually counted a lot on biosimilars, which obviously augurs very well for Biocon. So overall, I think it's been a very good merger or a proposed merger, and I think it's going to be a win-win for all the companies involved. And yes, I think if you look at the pharma sector, you are likely to see many more mergers because of the nature and dynamics of the generics business globally.
Right. Also, I just wanted to understand, ma'am, you know Mylan very well compared to any other Indian player. Mylan has been not that great in emerging markets. They have not been that strong in US as well. But with Pfizer coming in, you think their focus will shift to emerging markets? They'll become stronger over there going ahead?
That's not true entirely because I think Mylan has been very strong in the US. Mylan has been strong in many, many other markets, including emerging markets, with many of their recent acquisitions. But certainly this strengthens their reach in global markets for sure. And I think, the fact that Upjohn brings many of the leading brands for marketing in global markets, it only adds to what Mylan brings to the table.
All right, Ms. Shaw, thank you so much for joining in then on ET Now with your comments on this very upsetting news with respect to Mr. VG Siddhartha missing. Of course, the Karnataka police has got all hands on deck to look for him, especially around that area where he has gone missing. And of course, India Inc.'s prayers are for Mr. VG Siddhartha. On that note, we will take a very quick break right here on the show. Come right back and Pankaj Podar will take forward all the action on markets at noon.